What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing, and today I'm going to be predicting the outcome of George Kambosos Jr. versus Maxi Hughes, and this is going to be a 12-rounder for the IBF Lightweight World Title Eliminator, and this fight is going to be Saturday, July 22nd from the Firelake Arena in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and this fight is going to be broadcasted on ESPN, ESPN Plus, or on the ESPN app. And just before I get into both fighters' resumes, it's been a while since I've done a prediction video. Probably since, I think it was literally right at the end of 2022. Might have been on New Year's Eve for the Kazuto Ioka and Joshua Franco fight, their first fight, not their rematch, obviously. But, I mean, I'm back here doing a prediction video, and it is between Kambosos and Hughes. And just to get into George Kambosos' resume first, he has a record of 20 wins, 2 losses, and 10 wins coming by way of knockout. He is the former unified WBO, WBA, and IBF lightweight champion of the world. He is currently ranked number 5 by BoxRec as well in the lightweight division, and he is definitely regarded as a top 10 contender in the lightweight division. And just to get into his resume, he has 2 unanimous decision defeats to Devin Haney, which came in his last 2 fights, as most of you guys know. And his best wins all come by split decision, as he defeated Mickey Bay by split decision, then defeated Lee Selby by split decision in a world title eliminator back in 2020. And then in late 2021, he got the shock, huge upset, split decision victory over Teofimo Lopez, which was my pick for upset of the year in 2021. But to get his opponent's resume, Maxi Hughes, he holds a record of 26 wins, 5 losses, and 2 draws, with only 5 wins by way of knockout. Combined, these guys have 46 wins and only 15 KOs, so I definitely want to say this first. I mean, I think this fight's going to go the distance. But with Maxi Hughes, he is the current IBO lightweight world champion, and he's also currently ranked number 15 by BoxRec in the lightweight division. To list all of his defeats, a lot of his losses have occurred some years ago, but just to get into all his defeats, he's lost by points to Scott Cardle. He's also lost by corner stoppage and by unanimous decision to Martin J. Ward. He also does have a majority draw against Martin J. Ward, and I'll get into that later as well. He has a TKO loss to Sam Bowen and a unanimous decision defeat to Liam Walsh. And to get into his draws, like I said before, he has a majority decision draw in his 3 fights. One of them was a draw, obviously, against Martin J. Ward. And then he also has a points draw against Ronnie Clark. But to list some of his best victories, he's defeated Jono Carroll by unanimous decision. He's defeated Giovanni Strephon by unanimous decision, and that was for the IBO world title. And he's also got a unanimous decision victory over Ryan Walsh when defending his IBO belt. And he's coming off probably the best win of his career. Even though Kid Galahad was moving up in weight for this one, it was still his best victory as he defeated Galahad by majority decision. So, in my opinion, I think this fight, like I said before, is going to go the distance. But I do think it's a very nice scrap between 2 very solid lightweights. And I think this is a very good comeback fight for George Kambosos Jr. And I think it's at a level where it will be a good win for him, because I do think he's going to win. But I think it will be at a level that it's a good win for him, but it's also just a good fight in general and could be somewhat competitive, because Maxi Hughes is around that top 15 level, and Kambosos, I mean, who knows? He could be around there. I mean, he did have that one phenomenal performance against Teofimo Lopez, and since then, when he fought Devin Haney, he got purely dominated in both of those fights. So, I mean, who knows? But George Kambosos Jr., I personally think he's got way faster hands than Maxi Hughes. I don't really think Hughes has as fast hands as Kambosos, and I don't think that he's obviously as powerful with only 5 knockouts, but I do think he's the better boxer in there, because Maxi Hughes, in most of his fights, you really do get to see him box and try and fight on the outside, try and move, but not obviously like a caliber of a guy with great footwork or anything. His footwork's okay, but I mean, he isn't really one of those guys that's super fast, likes to move around, great head movement. I think he's just a solid boxer behind the jab, and he's able to land shots, score points, and win a lot of his fights, specifically by unanimous decision. But George Kambosos Jr., Obviously, when he fought Devin Haney, he was extremely aggressive. And I think that we're going to see that in this one. I think we're going to see his fast hands, and especially since Maxi Hughes' defense isn't as good as Devin Haney's, I think a lot of those shots are going to be landing as opposed to hitting air, which was occurring in the Devin Haney fight. But I think that just to get into this fight sort of round by round, I think that I would say that the earlier rounds, like maybe the first half, could be somewhat competitive. Like I think I could see Maxi Hughes maybe stealing a few of the earlier rounds in the fight. Like in the first three, I could see it being or the first four actually, I could see it being like 38-38, maybe 39-37 for Kambosos. But then I think as the rounds start to go on, I think that Kambosos will start to ease into the fight and really start to dig to the body, dig to the head, because he does have a pretty solid gas tank, I think. So, I mean, I think that especially since Maxi Hughes doesn't have the greatest power to keep him off him or anything, I think that Kambosos is going to have a much larger amount of success compared to his past couple fights, especially since Hughes is at a different level, obviously, when it comes to skill and power. But I think that Kambosos here, I mean, I've been seeing a lot of videos of him training, of him hitting the bag, hitting pads. I mean, he looks very fast, looks pretty motivated for this one. Too bad it isn't in Australia. For some reason, this fight's taking place in Oklahoma, which is far away from both these guys' homes. Kambosos from Australia, thousands of miles away, and Hughes from England, or the United Kingdom, whatever, which is also pretty far. So, I mean, I'm not sure why this fight is in Oklahoma, and I'm not sure how it's doing on tickets or anything like that, or how many people they're going to fill up in the arena. But, I mean, personally, for myself, and I think for most boxing fans, it's a pretty good fight. Definitely a very solid one. And like I was saying before, I think the first half will be pretty competitive. I think after 6 rounds, it could be like 58-56. Could even be 57-57. But I think 58-56 more likely in favor of Kambosos. But then as the fight goes on, like I said before, I think Hughes might be able to snag a few rounds in there, maybe 1 or 2 more late. But I think that primarily this fight will be controlled by Kambosos, but I think it will be somewhat competitive. Like, I think a lot of these rounds will be competitive with Maxi Hughes sort of on the outside a bit, jabbing, and Kambosos coming forward. But I think that primarily Kambosos will be doing the better work, specifically in the last 4 or 5 rounds, like from rounds 8 through 12. I think Kambosos will be putting on some decent work, and I think he will really clearly finish off the fight, and I think that it will go the distance, and I think he will get a unanimous decision victory. So I think that when this fight goes the distance, I think we could see the judges turning out with scorecards 116-112, maybe 117-111. Could even be as close as 115-113 based on how they view sort of the style matchup in this one, because I think that Maxi Hughes is going to box, and I think that Kambosos is going to move forward. So I think that the judges could have a pretty big disparity in the scoring, but I think that most likely this fight will be like a 8-4, 116-112 type of fight in favor of George Kambosos Jr. So overall, I believe that George Kambosos Jr. is going to get a very solid comeback win, as I think he will defeat current IBO lightweight world champion Maxi Hughes by unanimous decision to win the IBF lightweight world title Eliminator. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.